Alright, so if you've been on the internet as of late, you would notice a massive surge in popularity with indie animation. Now I'm not talking about the animation you see on TV, or I guess streaming now since TV is kinda dead, but the animations made by small independent artists who have one single goal in mind: show the world their ideas and creativity and make something amazing. YouTube has always been a fantastic platform for these creators to show off their work. But indie animation on the internet goes way back. All the way back to the 90s when Newgrounds started up and gave so many artists and animators a way to share their creations via the online world. And ever since then, the internet has become a great place for people to show off their work and get their names out there. But as of recent, the whole discussion of indie animation on the internet has become somewhat toxic and even competitive. I won't blame you if you haven't noticed, since to the average viewer who just wants to watch some fun cartoons, they may not notice much. But if you were to dig very deep down and get involved with the communities and fandoms, you would notice just how weirdly toxic everything has become. Not to say the whole internet animation community has never been toxic before because, well, it's the internet. But for some reason, there has been a lot of comparing and judging within the community, more specifically between two recent animations, Helluva Boss and the Amazing Digital Circus. These two animations have weirdly caused a lot of controversy and drama for no real reason. The whole situation has baffled me for quite some time now, and it got me thinking, how do we get to this point where we are ignoring so many great indie animations and instead we focus on these two specific animations, both varying in quality? Well, that's exactly what I want to go over in this video. Talk about the rise of indie animation on the internet, how we got to this point, and why the whole comparison stuff is just plain stupid. But before we get into things, I just want to say that this is a video on indie animations. So in order for it to be mentioned in this video, it has to have been made by a group of independent animators or even a solo creator. That's why a series like Chicken Nugget doesn't really count, cause despite it being created by animator Kaya Kupetsky, it was produced and distributed by BuzzFeed, and they are certainly not classed as an independent company. But animations like SMG4 or Digital Circus do count as indie animations, since not only are they powered by independent artists, but the studio behind them, Glitch Productions, is largely an independent studio in Australia that is ran by many talented artists and not some out-of-touch business executive who seems to be stuck in 2016 in terms of humor and has a website that looks like this. Fuck BuzzFeed. Anyway, now that we got all of that out of the way, I would like to go on a little journey on how we got here and the growth of indie animation on YouTube. So sit back lads, it's history time. So our story doesn't begin with YouTube, or even Newgrounds for that matter. Instead we go back to 1997 with the release of the first animated series created for the internet. And the series in question may surprise you. It was called the Goddamn George Liquor Program. Now if you're a diehard animation fan like myself, then you would recognize this fella from the Ren and Stimpy show. This is one of the first cartoons animated with the relatively new animation software Adobe Flash. It was way easier than animating on paper, but it was also very limited for its time. The series was produced in collaboration with Microsoft and premiered on their MSN network. Now obviously, looking at the animation at first glance, it does look very dodgy. The animation runs at like 2 frames a second and the audio is compressed beyond its limit.
Hello! I'm George Liquor, American!
But it was somewhat impressive for the time. The designs are nice, and thanks to the help of vectors in Adobe Flash, these animations can be upscaled to HD and even 4K. That's why a load of old animations created in Flash back in the day are now in HD. Cool stuff, am I right? But after the George Liquor program came out and impressed everyone with the ability to watch animations on the internet at the time as opposed to cable TV, a very small website dedicated to animators called Newgrounds was starting to rise in popularity. While it was started up before the George Liquor show in 1995 by young Tom Fulp, who by the way was only 17 at the time, it started to grow in popularity around 1999, and once we reached the early 2000s, it sort of became this hub for Flash animators and even gamers, thanks to the website's Flash Player add-on, which allowed people to upload small games they made. Soon enough, we got to see some new animated shows make a rise on the website. Iconic series like Gotham Girls, Happy Tree Friends, Making Fiends, Alfred's Playhouse, and good old Edrold, my little Pookie Bear. While these animations were very limited, no one really cared since there was so much charm with these animations. And these are just the popular shows. There are probably so many old animations that I'm forgetting, so please forgive me. But there was also this appreciation from viewers, since most of these animations were made by an incredibly small crew or even one person. Like Ed Gould, who created Eddsworld, was around 15 years old when he made the first few episodes. When I was 15, I was just acting like a degenerate, so fair play, Ed. And some of these animators would go on to do do some really big things within the industry. For example, Amy Winfrey, who created Making Fiends, would go on to direct episodes of BoJack Horseman, one of the greatest adult animated series of all time. Now that is impressive. But as the years passed on and we went into the late 2000s, a website known as YouTube started to rise in popularity. Back then, YouTube was seen as the video sharing site that almost everyone was on. Newgrounds was very popular, but you wouldn't see your parents or some random Joe on the site. But everyone was on YouTube, so animators who wanted to get their names out there decided to flock over to YouTube. Think of it like the Vine invasion on YouTube back in 2015, except not as cringe and actually really cool. Adobe Flash by this point had become more mainstream and more accessible for people to use, so around this time we saw a big influx of animations on YouTube, and some new animators came onto the scene like Oni NG, Egoraptor, Rebecca Perrin, Forced Fire 101, Falconer 02, Tomska, just to name a few. And not to mention the viral cartoons like The Ultimate Showdown, Charlie the Unicorn, Animator vs Animation, Astuff Movie, and Don't Hug Me I'm Scared, which, yes, I know, isn't technically animation, but shut up, I love this show. Hell, animation would become so popular that channels like Machinima would produce and distribute some popular animated series like Saturday Night Included, The Noob Adventures, and Happy Hour Saloon. And not to mention all the video game parody animations we saw around this time, like all those Minecraft animations, or Red vs Blue. Yes, the early 2010s was truly the golden era for animation on YouTube. It was a fantastic time for animators to show off their skills and hopefully make the next big internet sensation, and there would barely even be that much drama. Well, there was still drama, but compared to how it is nowadays, it was very tame. Things were truly looking great. Then, sadly, YouTube kinda went to shit. So you guys heard of the quote, "Nothing good lasts forever," right? Well, that quote can basically be applied to YouTube. Well, at the time it seemed like everything was going on good for the website. Behind the scenes, things were getting very messy. With its new CEO, Susan Wojcicki, there were a lot of changes made to the algorithm. Most notably, they changed the way the creators earned money off YouTube. Instead of getting views and ad revenue through clicks, it all became focused on watch hours and how long people watched the video for. So if creators wanted to maximize the money they make off content, they needed to upload longer videos and as frequently as they could. This is when we started to see a rise in Let's Plays on YouTube, since it was very easy content to make. Just buy an Elgato, hook it up to your Xbox or PlayStation, and then act like an overreacting idiot for 20 minutes. It's that easy. What's up, guys? Today we're gonna be playing some Grand Theft Auto 3. Let's get into it. Oh, he can jump! That's so cool, man! Oh, can he run? Oh, he can run! Oh my god, he can run! Yo guys, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Oh. Womp womp. So while this kinda helped a load of creators who just wanted to produce some easy and low effort content, it crushed animators, since if you didn't know, animation is really fucking hard. I used to animate back in the day, and let me tell you, I was struggling. But YouTube animators just couldn't keep up with the changing market. It was impossible for an animator to upload weekly. Even monthly is a big challenge, and they couldn't just produce a 20-minute long high quality animation. With the amount of work that goes into making the simplest animation, a 20-minute animation would take almost a year. So sadly, full animations on YouTube slowly started to die out. Not completely, of course, there were still some animation channels like Smashbits or Shut Up Cartoons who were still pumping out animations. But keep in mind, they were big companies that had plenty of funding and artists at their disposal. It was rare to find any solo animators who were still producing animations, since it had become so difficult to make a profit or even make a living due to how broken the AdSense system was. By the way, AdSense is still in shambles even in 2024. Like, come on YouTube, fix your sites. But around this time, YouTube animation wasn't completely dead. A new genre of animation started to arise called Storytime animation. Now, I know that the Storytime animators aren't necessarily seen in the best light nowadays, but for the time, they were very fun to watch, before everyone just became an Odd Ones Out clone. Storytime animations were a very clever way of making entertaining videos that were sort of animations, but took less time to produce and were much easier to make. Some of the first YouTubers to pioneer this genre were people like Domix, Swoozy, and the Odd Ones Out. If you look at some of Swoozy's oldest videos, you can't really call them animations, can you? They're just simple MS Paint drawings that have different poses. I can even do that, it's so easy. But what people enjoyed were the personalities and stories. The animation was more of a side thing. That's not to say these videos had no animation. Some of the older creators like Rebecca Perrin, Sugar, and Jane Animations all had experience with professional animation, so their videos looked really good visually. But you get the point, right? These Storytime animations were the closest thing to consistent independent animations that we would get on YouTube, since with the way the platform was at the time, and still is now I guess, you had to be consistent and make videos that people would want to watch all the way through. So making long form animations on YouTube was kinda dead by now, but very soon that mindset would slowly change, with the release of an animated pilot that would go on to change the way we look at independent animation on YouTube, and that pilot was called Hazbin Hotel. In October of 2019, YouTube animator Vivziepop, who at the time was mainly known for her webcomic Zoophobia, released her passion project that she developed with a plethora of artists from all around the world, and that project was, you guessed it, Hazbin Hotel. The series follows the misadventures of Charlie, the princess of hell setting up a hotel where a lot of crazy and wacky hijinks ensue. Now, when it was released, the pilot was an instant sensation. It gained millions of views within the first few days of release, was praised by everyone, and would later grow a massive fan base. And 1 month later, Helluva Boss was released to an even greater success and even gained more popularity than Hazbin, getting 2 full seasons on YouTube with 14 episodes. And Hazbin will garner its own success getting a show on Amazon Prime in 2024. Now, I do know that Hazbin is very divisive and the fanbase around it is notoriously toxic, especially all the controversy surrounding the creator Vivziepop. But I can't ignore just how important these 2 shows were to indie animation. Like the fact that Hazbin Hotel started off on YouTube and later gets ads shown on Times Square, New York is kind of amazing. Plus, I do have to give praise to the animation here. Say what you want about this series, but holy fuck. The animation for an internet series is genuinely phenomenal. I would go as far as to say that this is hands down some of the best 2D animation I have ever seen in a show before. And thanks to these 2 shows, it's given young animators and creators the confidence that it is possible to create something special, and that animation on YouTube is not completely dead. And thanks to sites like Patreon or Ko-Fi, fans are able to donate money to these creators and help support them. Hell, even sponsors are incredibly helpful for creators. By the way, I am always looking for sponsors, so please hit me up. Hazbin Hotel really set a new path for independent animators to trail on and create the next best thing. Now, despite all the good stuff the show has done, I'm still a white asshole who has opinions on the internet, and my opinions on these shows are rather mixed. On one hand, I do love how they inspired so many artists to create their own work, and I admire the animation immensely, but I just couldn't get into both shows. They have some good elements for sure, but man, the humor and characters really get on my nerves. I remember seeing memes that the show's only use of humor is through swearing and sex jokes, and I thought people were joking. But no, it's like the shows are written by some Xbox 360 edgelord, except he couldn't say any slurs, so he just kept saying fuck over and over again. But like I said, I do respect the shows for what they did with the animation community. And clearly the shows have a dedicated fanbase who find comfort in the characters and stories. I personally cannot get into the shows, but I'm glad if you like it. Don't take my opinions to heart, I literally think GTA is the best thing ever. But sadly, because of all the critiques, negative fanbase, and Vivzie herself, the 2 shows started to become really toxic and even controversial. Now, I don't want to talk shit about Vivzie cause I don't know her personally and I do respect her work immensely. I couldn't find out if she had done some genuinely terrible stuff, but I will say that we all make mistakes and we shouldn't torture someone over them. But because of all this bad rep for Hazbin and Helluva, it sort of affected indie animation. I know that sounds weird, but let me explain. When Hazbin was released, it was seen as the indie animation. There were other pilots released on YouTube at the time like Long Gone Gulch and Lackadaisy that got their own success, but they never quite reached the levels of Hazbin Hotel. Now, I'm not directly blaming the 2 shows or even Vivzie for the bad reputation indie animation was getting. I especially don't want to blame Vivzie cause none of this is really her fault. More so the toxic fanbase and haters who would just argue 24/7. With how toxic and even negative the whole discussion around Hazbin and Helluva got, the more people started to view indie animation in a very bad light. Which honestly sucks, cause it felt like Hazbin was doing some really good things for the indie animation community, but thanks to the internet being, well, the internet, we just ended up going back to where we started. Things started to seem bleak for a while, until later on in 2023, where an animation would release that would make a massive impact on not only the world of indie animation, but also the animation industry as a whole, and that animation was the Amazing Digital Circus. In October 2023, the YouTube channel Glitch Productions released the Amazing Digital Circus animated pilot onto YouTube. The pilot was created by Gooseworx, who had previously composed music for various YouTube content such as, funny enough, Helluva Boss. The pilot follows a group of quirky characters trapped in the digital world unable to leave, and of course load of wacky hijinks and even some tomfoolery ensues. Now, if you think Hazbin Hotel was successful, Digital Circus completely blows it out of the water. Upon release, it grew a fanbase quicker than me scaring away women. As of recording this video, the pilot has garnered over 200 million views. You heard that right, 200 million. To put into perspective just how insane that is, the original Hazbin Hotel pilot sits at 95 million views and was released over 4 years ago. Like, how did this random animated pilot become such an overnight sensation? Well, I have a few answers to that actually. It greatly helped that Glitch Productions is already a very well established animation channel, with their main claim to fame being SMG4 of all things. It's still crazy to think that these two shows are from the same producers. And also, the designs of the characters are very appealing for artists to draw fan art of. Like, a lot of these designs are such eye candy and I just love them. Also, they are just perfect for merchandising. And speaking of the design, the animation was done with 3D animation, which is somewhat rare to see nowadays given how expensive and difficult computer animation is to produce. So the unique animation and design really helped make Digital Circus stand out amongst the crowd. Plus, a small aspect that I believe greatly helped the pilot in the long run was that the animation was dubbed into over 15 languages, which made it more accessible to almost every country around the world. Now, of course, the success of Digital Circus is, well, amazing. Like, even those weird foreign YouTube channels with goofy sound effects and weird acting have started to make videos with the Digital Circus characters. Why do these exist? But this animated pilot did wonders and the reception was fantastic. But like I said again, nothing good lasts forever, cause soon a battle of animations will begin. Now, like I said earlier, after Digital Circus was released, it gained a massive fanbase and audience. And if you've watched my fandoms video from last year, then you would know that fandoms can have some major issues. And one of the negative aspects of Digital Circus building a big audience is how a lot of people started to compare it to Helluva Boss. This all started because around the time Digital Circus was released, the hate for Helluva Boss was at an all-time high, and people who fell in love with Digital Circus had something to compare Helluva Boss to, saying how Digital Circus is way better and that Helluva Boss is just a bunch of swear words and sex jokes. But what really got the ball rolling on this was a joke video made by Megachan on Twitter, where he basically just made fun of how there are way too many swears in Helluva Boss.
Welcome to the goddamn Digital Circus. My name is Kane. I am your bitch.
Now, to me personally, I found this little joke video to be really funny. And as usual, no hate towards Megachan whatsoever. He didn't have any malicious intentions with this video, he just wanted to have a bit of a laugh. But it was how people reacted to this that was the main issue. People who loved Digital Circus but hated Helluva Boss thought it was hilarious and perfectly described their issues with the show. But then you have fans of Helluva Boss who found the video to be insulting, claiming that the show is way more than just swear words and sex jokes. And yeah, I do kind of understand where they're coming from. Helluva Boss does have some great aspects like the animation, voice acting, and even the music. But the reactions from both sides would slowly start this war on Twitter. If you liked Helluva Boss, then you're cringe and weird. If you like Digital Circus, then you're an arsehole. There's no good in between. But what really sucked is how whenever the discussion on indie animation is brought up, it's always in relation to Helluva Boss against Digital Circus, since they are both the largest indie animations on YouTube right now, so people just go straight to them when talking about indie animation. And I'ma be real here, it's all very stupid. It's like calling yourself a musical theater kid and when you're asked what your favorite musical is, you say something like Hamilton. Like, it's obviously Rent. But we really shouldn't be arguing on which animation is better. Both animations have their fans who have varying opinions, which we should respect. But it just baffles me how heated people can get over two animated pilots that are completely different from one another. Like me personally, I do prefer Digital Circus over Helluva Boss, but even I think the hate Helluva gets and the praise Digital Circus gets is way too overblown. It's honestly just such a shame how this is where we currently are with indie animations. Like, y'all do know that Helluva Boss and Digital Circus aren't the only indie animations on YouTube, right? There have been some fairly successful pilots released like Punch Punch Forever, Lackadaisy, and Long Gone Gulch, and each have their own unique animation style, characters, and interesting stories, and we should be supporting these kind of animations rather than the ones that are already insanely massive. Or hell, even the upcoming projects from more well-known creators, like Rebel Taxi's Loki IRL, which I absolutely love the style of, or Alice Mark's upcoming cartoon, which we don't know much about, but I am really excited for it. Sure, with all the multi-hour long videos he's making, it's no wonder why he's taking his time. But even looking past all that, there are so many independent animations out there that deserve nothing but attention. Some of the ones that I personally want to shout out are pilots like Into the Fog, which has a lot of potential with the story and even has my good friend Nick Jones voicing in it. Go slay, Nick. Then there's Zack in Time, which just has a W name. Helluva, Helluva the Great Race. Helluva the Great Race, Port by the Sea, Wheels and Roses, which the trailer to that only has 600 views. Like, what the fuck, guys? Go watch that trailer right now. Or you have The Origins, which has a really cool anime style to it. I love it. And there are honestly just so many fantastic and incredible indie animation pilots out there that I cannot mention them all in one video. We would literally be here all day. I'm really sorry if I did miss out on a certain pilot or series. If you're an independent creator who has made a pilot or is currently working on one, then feel free to promote yourself in the comments or send me a DM. Also, I would like to thank the Indie Animation Network on Twitter for helping me with the research of this video. If you want to try and find some small indie animations to watch online, then please go check them out. They are doing God's work and are truly the best account for indie creators. With that being said, I kindly ask that you guys go support these indie creators as much as you can, whether you financially support them via Patreon, Indiegogo, Ko-Fi, or whatever they use. You can also just share around their work as much as you can, or hell, you can even just watch some of their stuff. A single view, like, or comment can go a long way. You can obviously enjoy Helluva Boss or Digital Circus as much as you want, it's your life, but please don't pin them together and act like they're the only indie animated pilots to watch on YouTube. There is such a massive treasure trove of some really fantastic and underrated animated pilots that I wish got more attention online. I am no animator by any means, so I can't relate to the struggle these independent artists go through, but I do have massive respect for all these creators who are pouring all their blood, sweat, and tears into their work. And the least we can do is see what they have to show us, cause the amount of unrecognized talent out there is a goldmine just waiting to be explored. Anyway, I think that just about does it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and again, make sure to check out the Indie Animation Network on Twitter to see some fantastic animations. This topic of indie animation is something that I am very passionate about, so I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.